My boss called me a worthless fat girl in front of 200 people. 200. I can still see their faces. I can still feel their stares. I was standing in the middle of our company conference room. It was a massive space. Glass walls, floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek furniture, the kind of room designed to impress, the kind of room that makes you feel small. And I was presenting a project that I had worked on for 3 months. 3 months of late nights, 3 months of research, 3 months of strategy, 3 months of pouring my heart and soul into something that I believed in. I had stayed at the office until midnight. I had worked weekends. I had sacrificed time with my family. I had sacrificed time with my friends. I had sacrificed my entire life for this project because I thought it mattered, because I thought my work mattered, because I thought I mattered, and I was nervous. I was always nervous when I had to present, but this time was different. This time I had prepared more than ever before. I had practiced this presentation 100 times. I had stood in front of my mirror and practiced. I had practiced in my car. I had practiced in the shower. I knew every slide. I knew every number. I knew every detail. I had memorized the statistics. I had memorized the projections. I had memorized the benefits. I was ready. Or at least I thought I was ready. I walked up to that podium and my hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. My mouth was dry. But I started speaking, and for the first 5 minutes it was going well. People were listening. People were engaged. I could see it in their faces. They were interested. They were following along. I could see heads nodding. I could see people taking notes. I could see people leaning forward. They were invested, and I started to relax. I started to feel confident. I started to believe that this was going to go well. And then my boss, Richard, he stood up. He stood up in the middle of my presentation. He didn't raise his hand. He didn't wait for me to finish. He just stood up, and the room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "I'm sorry. I have to stop you here." And my heart sank. I knew what was coming. I had been working for Richard for 5 years. 5 years. And I knew his patterns. I knew that when he said, "I have to stop you," something bad was about to happen. He said, "This is absolutely terrible. This is the worst presentation I have ever seen." And frankly, I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Because look at you. And he pointed at me. He literally pointed his finger at me like I was an object, like I was a thing, not a person, a thing. He said, "Look at you. You're a worthless fat girl. How do you expect anyone to take you seriously when you can't even take care of yourself? You're disgusting. You're pathetic." And this project is exactly what I would expect from someone like you, someone who has no discipline, someone who has no self-control, someone who has let themselves go completely. How can you possibly expect to lead anything when you can't even lead yourself? And the room went silent, complete silence. 200 people, all staring at me, all watching me, all judging me. And I felt my face go red. I felt the heat rise from my chest to my neck to my face. I felt like I was on fire. I felt my heart stop. I felt like I was going to die. Right there, in front of everyone, I wanted to disappear. I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. I wanted to cease to exist. I wanted to vanish, but I didn't disappear. I just stood there, frozen. Unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything except feel the shame, the humiliation, the rejection, the pain. And Richard, he just sat back down, like he hadn't just destroyed me, like he hadn't just humiliated me in front of the entire company, like he hadn't just told 200 people that I was worthless, that I was disgusting, that I was pathetic, like he hadn't just shattered my confidence into a million pieces. He just sat down and he looked at his phone, like I wasn't even worth his attention anymore. And nobody said anything. Nobody stood up for me. Nobody defended me. Nobody said, "That's not okay." Nobody said, "You can't talk to her like that." Nobody said anything. They just sat there in silence, judging me, pitying me, laughing at me internally. Some of them were even smirking. I could see it. I could see the smirks on their faces, and I realized that I was alone, completely alone. In a room full of 200 people, I was completely alone. I walked out of that conference room and I went straight to the bathroom, and I locked myself in a stall, and I cried. I cried harder than I had ever cried in my entire life. I cried until I couldn't breathe. I cried until my body was shaking. I cried until my makeup was running down my face in black streaks. I cried until I had no tears left. And I sat on that bathroom floor for an hour, just sitting there, broken, destroyed, humiliated. My career was over. I was sure of it. Everyone had heard what Richard said. Everyone knew that he thought I was worthless. Everyone knew that he thought I was disgusting. Everyone knew that he thought I was pathetic. How could I ever face any of them again? How could I ever walk through those halls and look them in the eye? How could I ever present another project? How could I ever speak up in a meeting? How could I ever exist in that office again? And I sat on that bathroom floor and I thought about my life. I thought about how I had gotten here. I thought about how I had allowed myself to become the kind of person that someone could talk to like that. I thought about how I had made myself so small, so invisible, so unworthy, that my own boss felt comfortable calling me a worthless fat girl in front of 200 people. And I realized something. I realized that this was my fault. Not because I was fat, but because I had accepted being treated this way. I had accepted being disrespected. I had accepted being humiliated. I had accepted being called names. And I had done it for years. Years of Richard making comments about my weight. Years of Richard making jokes about my appearance. Years of Richard making snide remarks about what I ate. Years of Richard treating me like I was less than human. And I had just accepted it. I had just smiled and nodded and pretended it didn't hurt, but it did hurt. It hurt every single time, and I was done. I was done accepting it. I was done being small. I was done being invisible. I was done being worthless. I was done. I walked out of that bathroom and I went back to my desk. I didn't go back to the conference room. I didn't apologize. I didn't try to salvage the presentation. I just went to my desk and I sat down and I opened my computer and I started typing my resignation letter. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. I didn't consult anyone. I just did it. I typed, "I resign. Effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity to work with the team. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors." And I hit send, and I closed my laptop, and I packed up my desk. I took the few personal items I had there, a photo of my family, a plant that my sister had given me, a coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Employee," and I walked out of that office, and I never went back. I didn't give 2 weeks' notice. I didn't stay to train my replacement. I didn't do anything. I just left. And you know what? Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody called me to ask me to reconsider. Nobody valued me enough to fight for me. They just let me go. Like I had never mattered. Like I had never been important. Like I was completely replaceable. And maybe I was, but I didn't care anymore. Because I had made a decision. I had decided that I was going to change my life. I was going to lose the weight. I was going to build something of my own. I was going to become so successful that Richard would regret the day he ever called me worthless. I weighed 280 pounds when I quit my job. I had struggled with my weight my entire life. Since I was a child, I had been the fat girl. The girl people made fun of. The girl who had to work twice as hard to get half as much recognition, the girl who was invisible, and I had internalized that. I had believed it. I had believed that I was fat and therefore I was worthless, that I was fat and therefore I was unlovable, that I was fat and therefore I didn't deserve success, that I was fat and therefore I didn't deserve happiness. But after that day, after that humiliation in front of 200 people, I made a decision. I was going to lose 150 pounds. I was going to transform my body. I was going to transform my life. And I was going to do it not for Richard, not to prove something to him, not to show him up, not for revenge, but for me. Because I deserved it, because I was worth it, because my life mattered. I hired a trainer. Her name was Maria. She was tough. She was no nonsense. She didn't care about my excuses. She didn't care about my past. She just cared about results, and she pushed me. She pushed me harder than I had ever been pushed before. Not because she was mean, but because she believed in me. She believed that I could do it. She believed that I could transform my body. She believed that I could become strong, and that belief was contagious. I started to believe it too. I started working with her 3 times a week, and it was hard. It was so hard. My body ached. My muscles were sore. I wanted to quit every single day, but I didn't quit. I kept going. I hired a nutritionist. Her name was Dr. Sarah. She was kind and patient. She didn't tell me to restrict my food. She didn't tell me to go on a diet. She taught me how to nourish my body properly. She taught me about macronutrients and micronutrients. She taught me about whole foods and processed foods. She taught me about listening to my body's signals. And I started eating real food, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins. And I stopped eating the junk that I had been using to comfort myself. I stopped using food as a way to numb my pain. I stopped using food as a way to escape my problems. And I started moving. I started walking. Just walking at first, 30 minutes a day, and it felt good. It felt like I was doing something for myself. It felt like I was choosing myself. And slowly, I started running. I started lifting weights. I started doing yoga. I started doing Pilates. I started moving my body in ways that felt good, in ways that made me feel strong, in ways that made me feel alive, and my body started to change. After 3 months, I had lost 30 pounds. I could see it in my face. I could feel it in my clothes. After 6 months, I had lost 60 pounds. People at the grocery store started recognizing me. They would do a double take. They would say, "Is that you? You look so different." After 1 year, I had lost 100 pounds. I was halfway to my goal. After 18 months, I had lost 130 pounds. I was almost there. And after 2 years, I had lost 150 pounds. I went from 280 pounds to 130 pounds. I was unrecognizable. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. I would stand there and stare at myself. I would turn sideways. I would look at my profile. I would look at my arms. I would look at my legs. And I couldn't believe that it was me. But more than that, I felt different. I felt strong. I felt confident. I felt like I mattered. I felt like I was worth something. I felt like I had value. I felt like I deserved good things. And the weight loss was just the physical transformation. The real transformation was internal. I had changed my mindset. I had changed my beliefs about myself. I had changed my entire life. And as I was transforming my body, I was also transforming my career. I couldn't go back to working for someone else. I couldn't go back to being treated like I was worthless. I couldn't go back to that. So I started consulting for other companies. I started reaching out to my network. I started started offering my services, and people wanted to hire me. They wanted to work with me. They valued my expertise. They valued my ideas. They respected my work. And I was good at it. I was really good at it. I was better at it than I had ever been at working for Richard, because I was doing it for me, not for someone else. Not for approval, not for validation, not for a paycheck, but for me. For my own satisfaction, for my own sense of accomplishment, and that made all the difference. I was more creative. I was more innovative. I was more strategic. I was more passionate. I was more engaged. And my clients could see it, they could feel it, and they wanted more. After 2 years of building my consulting business, I had saved enough money to start my own company. I had a vision. I had an idea. I had a plan. And I had the confidence to execute it. I started small. Just me and one other person. A woman named Jennifer who had also left Richard's company. We had both been humiliated by him. We had both been treated like we were worthless, and we bonded over that shared experience. We decided to build something together, something better, something different. We had a vision for a company that valued its employees, a company that treated people with respect, a company that believed in its people, a company that invested in its people, and we executed. We worked hard. We were strategic. We were innovative. We were relentless, and we grew. We grew slowly at first, but then we grew faster and faster. After 3 years, we had 10 employees. After 5 years, we had 50 employees. After 7 years, we had 100 employees. After 10 years, we had expanded to 3 countries. We had offices in New York, London, and Singapore. We were making millions of dollars. We were winning awards. We were being recognized. As one of the most innovative companies in our industry, I had built something from nothing. I had taken an idea and turned it into a thriving business. I had become the CEO of my own company. And I had done it all without Richard, without the company that had rejected me, without the people who had judged me. I had done it all on my own. And then something incredible happened. Richard's company started to struggle. The market changed. Competition increased, and Richard's company couldn't keep up. They were losing clients. They were losing money. They were losing people. The best employees were leaving. The company was falling apart. And Richard, desperate to save his company, reached out to me. He called me. His voice was different. It was smaller. It was weaker. It was desperate. And he asked me if I would be willing to work with his company. He asked if I would help them. He asked if I would save his company, and I almost laughed. I almost couldn't believe it. The man who had called me a worthless fat girl in front of 200 people was now begging me for help. The man who had humiliated me was now asking me to save him. The man who had destroyed my confidence was now asking me to invest in him, and I said yes. But not because I wanted to help him, but because I wanted to acquire his company. I wanted to buy his company and make it part of mine. I wanted to expand my empire by absorbing his failing business, and I made him an offer that was fair but not generous, an offer that would benefit my company, an offer that he couldn't refuse. Because if he didn't accept, his company would go under, he would lose everything, and he accepted. And suddenly, Richard was working for me. Richard, my former boss, was now my employee. He was reporting to me. He was taking orders from me. He was working in my company, doing the job that I assigned to him. He was no longer the boss. He was no longer the one in power. He was no longer the one making decisions. He was just an employee, just a person doing a job. And do you know what the best part was? The best part was that I treated him with respect. I treated him with kindness. I treated him with dignity. I didn't humiliate him. I didn't call him names. I didn't make him feel worthless. I didn't do to him what he had done to me. I just treated him like a human being, like a professional, like someone who mattered. And I think that might have hurt him more than if I had been cruel, because he saw what it looked like to be treated well. He saw what it looked like to work for someone who valued you, someone who respected you, someone who didn't tear you down, someone who didn't humiliate you. And he realized what he had lost. He realized what he had thrown away when he treated me like I was worthless. He realized that I was the one who had the power all along. I just didn't know it yet. But here's the thing. I didn't do this for revenge. I didn't lose 150 pounds to prove something to Richard. I didn't build my company to show him up. I didn't acquire his company to punish him. I did all of this for me. I did it because I deserved better. I did it because I was worth more than the way he treated me. I did it because I believed in myself, even when nobody else did. Even when Richard was calling me worthless. Even when 200 people were staring at me with pity and judgment. Even when I was at my lowest point, I believed in myself. And that belief changed everything. That belief transformed my body. That belief transformed my career. That belief transformed my entire life. And now, 10 years later, I can look back and see the journey. I can see where I started. I can see where I am now. And I can see that the transformation was never about Richard. It was always about me. It was always about choosing myself. It was always about believing that I was worth the effort, that I was worth the sacrifice, that I was worth the hard work, that I was worth the success. So if you're watching this and you're in a situation where someone has treated you like you're worthless, I want you to know something. I want you to know that their treatment of you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character. It's a reflection of their insecurity. It's a reflection of their inability to see your value. And that's their problem, not yours. Your job is not to prove yourself to them. Your job is to believe in yourself. Your job is to choose yourself. Your job is to invest in yourself. Your job is to become the best version of yourself, not for them, but for you, because you deserve it, because you are worth it, because your life matters, because your dreams matter, because your goals matter. And when you make that decision, when you really commit to that, everything changes. Your body changes, your career changes, your relationships change, your entire life changes. And the people who doubted you, they become irrelevant. They become a footnote in your story, a moment that taught you something important, a catalyst for your transformation, but not the main character, not anymore. You are the main character. Your life is your story, and it's time to write it the way you want it to be written. So start today. Make one choice. One choice that says, I matter. One choice that says, I'm worth it. One choice that says, I deserve better. And then make another choice tomorrow. And another the day after that. And watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms. Watch how you transform. Watch how opportunities start appearing. Watch how people start treating you differently. Watch how your reality shifts. I'll see you in the comments. Tell me your story. Tell me how you're choosing yourself. Tell me how you're transforming your life. Tell me how you're becoming the main character of your own story. Because your story matters. Your transformation matters. And it will inspire someone else who is where you are right now. Someone who feels worthless. Someone who feels humiliated. Someone who feels invisible. Someone who thinks they don't matter. Your story will show them that they do matter. That they can transform. That they can choose themselves. That they can become the best version of themselves. And that's how we change the world. One person at a time. One choice at a time. One transformation at a time. I'll see you on the other side of your transformation.